Yo, what is going on, guys? Welcome to the video. I hope your morning is going great. Mine's been going pretty smooth. I'm having a good one, and today we're finally going to be diving into all of the Team France Overwatch World Cup drama that I've been talking about over the past week. Now, the reason why I haven't talked about it yet is because there's a lot of different information coming out, and I've been reached out to multiple people within the French community who have been sending me a lot of information about Team France. We're talking about Discord logs, interviews done by the players, interviews done by the management, the staff, where they kind of talk about why they lost, what the whole entire experience was like, why do they think it was so hard, etc, etc. Problem was, though, all the things they were sending me was in French, and that's pretty much the big reason why not a lot of people in North America or even Europe know much about this situation, is because it's all in French, and it kind of stayed in the French community, and that's why a lot of these people within that French community are reaching out to me and want me to talk about it and expose it to the rest of the world. Because from the outside looking in, it just seems like, oh, Team France, maybe they weren't that good then, they lost 0-3 to Canada, got completely stomped, whatever, maybe they'll do better next year, they just didn't come together right this year. But that's not just it, there's a lot more to this story. I mean, if you look at their roster, they have AKM, Soon, Unco, one of the greatest Zenyatas in the league, Poco, probably the best diva in the league, or top 3. Benbest, now in the Overwatch League. Nico, now in the Overwatch League. Winz, ex-professional player with Rogue. Like, their roster is completely stacked. There's no reason that this team should have got completely stomped 0-3 by Canada. We all expected Canada versus France to be one of the best matches of the entire tournament, and it was a huge letdown. France didn't even put up that great of a fight. They were forcing terrible comps. They didn't look together. Just nothing was working out for them. They seemed very, very off, and that was for a specific reason, which we are going to be getting into in this video. This video isn't only going to be about Team France, so we are going to get into a few other things. The next thing we talk about after France is going to be Kephrii. So, some of you guys do know this, it kind of went a little underrated, but some do know. Kephrii was signed to play with a Korean Contenders team, guys. Yeah, guys, Kephrii has been signed, and he will be playing in Contenders as a professional player with a Korean team. Yeah, that's pretty crazy, right? Some of you guys are probably thinking, if he couldn't get on a North American Contenders team, how the hell did he get on a Korean team? Well, to be honest, the response to that is that Korean players actually respect Kephrii a lot more than North American players do, so it was much easier for him to find a team, even with the language barrier. So we are going to be talking about Kephrii, who he joined, how he's communicating with a bunch of Koreans in this second part of the video. If you guys are excited to learn all about this crazy stuff, France, Kephrii, be sure to subscribe to my channel because I upload content like this every single day, and if you want to stay updated on all Overwatch League news and drama, this is your channel. If you don't want to go on Twitter and Reddit and a whole bunch of other social media platforms, you'll always be able to find that information daily on my channel, all condensed in a video, so be sure to subscribe. And now, without further ado, let's go ahead and hop into this video and talk about France. Alright, so as we mentioned earlier, it's a big surprise that Team France got destroyed by Canada as bad as they did. Sure, some people predicted Canada to win, but nobody thought it would be a 3-0 walkover. France, they have incredible players on the entire roster. There's no reason they should have lost that bad. There had to be more information behind all of it, and, well, there is. As I said, many people from the French community have been reaching out to me, sending me screenshots, and I actually had one guy specifically write an incredible document with a whole bunch of information, all the stuff we need to know, guys. So let's go ahead and just jump straight into this document. And also, the person who wrote me this does want to stay anonymous. So, hopping into the document, this is what is in there. Hi Michael, I'm writing to you about the Winz issue in Team France throughout the Overwatch World Cup period. Everything I show you here is publicly accessible, at least to some degree. If you doubt anything that I include here, you can either go verify yourself, or I will be more than happy to provide you with the source of how the information is obtained. I will start with a summary of the issue. Winz, the main support player, has been acting very unprofessional, specifically after the Paris group stage ended because he was refused to join the Paris Overwatch League team. He means right here that the Paris Overwatch League team turned him down and said they didn't want to sign him. There was a period there, if you guys do remember, Winz was tweeting out that there was a good chance that he would be joining the Paris Overwatch League team. So after learning that he wasn't going to be joining, there was serious tension between him and the rest of Team France players and coaches, because most of the Team France players and the coach are the head coach and players for Team Paris in the Overwatch League, which has probably damaged their performance in the Overwatch World Cup playoff at BlizzCon. So starting off now, let's take a look at some of the information, and we're going to begin with a Q&A with the Team France community lead Troma. Again, this was originally in French, but he translated all of this stuff for us in English, and I have verified with multiple people that this is accurate translations. So this Q&A was done on November 7th, after the Overwatch World Cup. We'll go ahead and take a look at some of the questions. Starting off with the very first one, do you think that Winz selection was normal, and that it was thanks to the result of the trials, in which he apparently didn't even participate in? Troma responded and he said this: so, having been very impressed by my brother, Dridro, another player for France who was considered as a support player, as were others during trials, I was inclined to choose him, particularly due to his mechanical skill and Mercy favored meta at the time. But Winz was preferred for well-known reasons: LAN experience, familiarity with the other players, his strategic mind. He did participate in trials once though, but as everyone had a lot of ping, it was a flawed test, as well as in NA scrims against Team Sweden for example. Therefore, I aligned myself with the coach's choice. Even more so, I didn't want to force the issue with my brother. It would have seen as nepotism. So we can see here immediately after the World Cup team, the community lead for France is already kind of throwing Winz under the bus, saying that he wished they would have chose his brother instead. Now, if you go through all of these questions, there's a lot of them. I will link it down below so you guys can click and read through it. A lot of them are about Winz, but one of the main ones that I want to bring up here is this. So when asked about Winz more, Troma responded and said this: Winz doesn't respect the in-game strategy of the coach or the scrim plan of the team. He blames most of the responsibility to other players, despite himself being the most heavily underperforming during the match. A very unsportsmanlike behavior. Then asked again regarding Winz, he does have experience and synergy, but did he have the necessary level, and what were those strategic aspects that everybody is talking about? He responded and said, for the strategic aspect, I couldn't tell you. He wasn't in agreement with the coach on that aspect. They have been talking about it on their own discords, and as a result, I think little to no strategies from Winz were used. So it seems throughout most of the practice period between the group stage and going into BlizzCon, Winz was in disagreement with the head coach and did not get along with him, causing major rifts within the team. Down below, we can take a look at a screenshot from Winz Discord. Again, it is in French, but we do have the translation. Winz in his Discord. And honestly, I had the impression my experience was useless in a team with a coach who are not okay with how I see things. I couldn't help this team, and I wouldn't be able to help Paris anyway. They are better without me, and I am better without them. Winz also said things like, the moment I switched to Lucio, it was the right decision back then, but a bad decision long term because it is not the role that fits me. I did it for the team because someone had to. Have no motivation to play this game as a role and as bad and ungrateful as Lucio. Then Winz started talking about the boot camps that Team France had in his Discord. He said this: the first boot camp was okay, but on the other hand, the second boot camp, people were just jerking off. By the way, guys, Team France had 2 boot camps, the first one in France and then the second one in Vegas. Then in Troma's Q&A, he was also asked about these messages that Winz sent on his Discord. The question was, is it true that the second bootcamp was, in quotation marks, Lazy Town, as said by Dear Winz, or was it taken out of anger and disappointment? Troma responded and he said, I think it's quite cheeky of him to say that. He was occasionally late by 20 to 30 minutes for these scrims. According to every player's feedback I've heard, he also asked not to scrim in the morning against Canada, which was a game against the UK. Then Troma was asked, did France think that the tournament was a joke, and is the story about laughing right before the games true? Which again, Winz said that they were laughing before the games, not taking it serious. The answer was, absolutely not. I saw players grind. Some sacrificed a lot of sleep to train like madmen. I still have the image of Ben and Nico still on the PCs during pauses, for example. All of them sacrificed free time while on pause from the Overwatch League for some. Again, when they said on pauses, he means in their off time. In order to train, I really only saw serious players. So according to Winz, the team was lazy and they didn't show up, they didn't try hard in their boot camp, but according to everybody else, Winz is the one in fact who was late to scrims and not taking it seriously. And then this is where it gets extremely juicy. As for the human aspect, as I said earlier, one of the players lost all motivation only few days before the quarterfinals. That's never a good thing during a competition. Now this is in response to Winz getting denied to join the Paris Overwatch League team, and where he just absolutely stopped caring or trying for these guys. And Troma does admit that that is something that Paris should have revealed the Winz after the World Cup rather than prior to the quarterfinals, because again, it did kill all motivation. And then moving on to the last thing that Winz said on his Discord, it was this: I was betrayed and manipulated during the boot camp. And what he is talking about is Team Paris leading him on, apparently about him getting a spot on the team. But then eventually he was told that he was not good enough to make Team Paris. And one of the last questions we'll be looking at, it says this: I would like to know if after the game the players could debrief what happened between them. Are there any grudges left? Could tensions remain? Either way, thanks a lot for all of your hard work. The answer to this from Troma was, there was a debrief during halftime with Damon, the head coach, who encouraged them not to give up and keep their strats. Then one after the game. But I think the players and Winz are not in contact anymore. That page has been turned. So pretty much after the World Cup, every single Team France member besides AKM, because he is Winz's brother, stopped completely talking to Winz. They cut him off. They stopped following each other on Twitter, pretty much everywhere. And this was because they believe he completely threw the World Cup for them because he was denied to join the Paris Overwatch League team. You can see here in this screenshot from Ben Best on his Discord where he starts talking about the team's World Cup performance. And he says, only one player was behind the others mechanically and game sense wise. He's the only one that trash talked the other teammates, a shameful behavior. And he is referring to Winz here again. So after taking a look at all of these screenshots, all the interviews, all these players on their personal Discords talking about the France Overwatch World Cup experience, it seems like Winz really did throw it for everyone. He stopped caring. He stopped trying immediately after he was told he didn't make the Overwatch League. And of course, because half of the Team France World Cup roster is on that Paris Overwatch League team, Winz was in spite. He didn't want to practice. He didn't want to try hard. He didn't want to be friends with them. And he basically just gave up. And the saddest part of it all, after giving up and not trying and doing all that stuff, after the World Cup was over, he tried to throw everyone else under the bus and say they were the ones not trying and not caring. Pretty sad in my opinion. I think this makes Winz look very bad. He did say he is quitting Overwatch forever, so if this is how he wants to go out, I guess it's how he wants to go out. But that pretty much is all of the France drama summed up, guys. Winz threw it all for them. Let me know down in the comments what you guys think about this. Definitely pretty crazy drama going on in the French community. Again, they wanted me to expose it for them. Here it is, guys. Now we all know the truth, the dark secrets behind Team France. Let's go ahead and move on now, though, and talk a little bit about Kephrii, because yeah, he is playing in Contenders, boys. He is not playing in Korean Contenders, but he is playing with a full Korean team in Pacific Contenders. The team that he is going to be joining is Global Esports, and they actually have some pretty good players on their roster who have competed in actual Korea Contenders with teams like Blossom and even more. Kephrii will be one of the DPS players on this roster. There is a total of 4 of them, so I don't know if he is going to get a ton of starting time. I am hearing, though, that Kephrii will be eventually flying out to Seoul, Korea to play with the guys, though. And that's very exciting. I'm actually super happy for Kephrii. I'm glad he's eventually got his chance to prove how good he can potentially be. I have been a firm believer that he is one of the best Widowmakers in all of Overwatch, and if he does get a chance, he could potentially prove it. My issue with him was that I don't really know how good he is at other heroes. Yeah, his Widowmaker might be great, but we're in a meta right now where Widowmaker isn't played 24/7 anymore. There's a lot of flexing. You need to play Brigida. You need to play other hit scan heroes like McCree, maybe even some projectile like Genji, so it's kind of all over the place. And to be honest, I was iffy about giving Kephrii a chance to trial on Kungarna. Unfortunately, we just had our roster fully panned out, but it was something that I thought about doing, but it just didn't come to fruition. Now it seems like Kephrii does have a home, and he is going to get that chance to prove himself. You guys might be wondering though, how on earth is Kephrii communicating with Koreans? He doesn't speak Korean. Well, it seems like Kephrii has been potentially trying to learn it. We'll go ahead and roll this clip, and I'll let him explain to you guys how he tries to communicate with them mid-game.
I did not start learning Korean, but what I did is I have this thing. Hold on, I'm gonna show you.
Oh.
I have a Google Doc.
Well, this isn't gonna work. All off thing.
Yeah, we have to get a Reinhardt.
I have a Google Doc. Orange
triple
Winju. Where I usually keep this open on my other monitor. so I can do my call outs.
So there it is, boys. That's how he initially started communicating with them. Pretty cool. I'm excited. I absolutely cannot wait to see him compete. It's going to be awesome, guys. Let me know down below in the comments what you think about Kephrii finally getting his chance to compete and show how good he could be. Do you think he'll be great? Do you think he'll be bad? Let me know what you think about Team France drama. That's going to be it, though, guys. If you do want to stay updated on anything that has to do with the Overwatch League that's drama related or news related, be sure to click that red subscription button, guys. I upload content every single day. You'll never miss out on any of it. Turn post notifications on. I'm out of here, guys. Thank you for watching. Peace.